My name is Cindy Hughes, and this is the first video in a series of 6 videos that I've entitled Wisdom and Womanhood, making choices that lead to joy in your life and in the lives of those around you. This first video is going to be an introductory video, and in it I hope to tell you just enough about myself to explain why I'm making these videos, and also to tell you who I think will benefit the most from watching this presentation, and also to give you a brief overview of the content of each of the other videos in the series. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself first. I happen to have an unusually large family. I have 15 children, 8 boys and 7 girls. And they range in age from 29 years old to 6.5 years old. And it comes as a surprise to a lot of people when I tell them that growing up, it was not my intention to have such a large family. I loved the idea of having a family. I actually had a religious upbringing that taught me to value having a family. But I was also raised in a family that stressed the importance of academic excellence. And that worked really well for me because I was that weird kid who loved going to school, loved getting homework. I can remember bringing my assignments home and pretending to be the teacher to my younger siblings. Everything about school I loved, and I did exceptionally well. I skipped a grade in elementary school, and it wasn't just academics either. I loved extracurricular activities. I loved sports. I loved music. I had a wide variety of interests, but I gravitated to subjects within the realms of math and science. And like I said, I did pretty well at school. I graduated as a straight-A student and the valedictorian of my class. But having such a wide variety of interests, in high school, they get you thinking about what you want to be, what you want to do, what your career is going to be, right? And I had a very difficult time choosing what I wanted to do. But my parents thought that it would be great if I became a doctor. They saw that I liked math and science, and they thought it could be lucrative. And I wasn't afraid of going to school, so doctor it was. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll be a doctor. And because I skipped a grade, I went to college as a very young 17-year-old pre-med major. And I turned 18 about halfway through my first semester. And at the beginning of my second semester, I met a guy. And I had some very profound experiences that led me to completely change the trajectory of my life. I decided to get married, and I decided to start a family, and I continued to go to school, but I knew that becoming a doctor was going to take a long time. And in my mind, that was not okay. It was highly incompatible with raising a family. So I switched my major to nursing, and my husband and I juggled classes and a couple of kids for a few years until eventually my husband's employment situation caused us to move to a different state. And at that point, I became a stay-at-home mom, pretty much, anyway. There weren't any nearby universities that offered a bachelor's degree in nursing, and I loved being with my kids. And so I was happy to use that as an excuse to become a stay-at-home mom. Never regretted it. It was one of the best decisions of my life. Taking the classes that I did in preparing for a medical profession gave me a great appreciation for the human body. It's really amazing. Living things in general are pretty amazing. But I found it particularly fascinating to learn about me, the anatomy, biochemistry, everything about what the body does and how it works. You could get into psychology. I mean, even what happens when you get sick and things don't work right. which kind of came in handy actually raising 15 children. But the thing that I loved the most was the fact that there were things that I was learning about myself. And it was a good thing, too, because even as scholarly as I was, there were a lot of things that I did not know about human biology. Female biology, specifically, since it applied to me, but also just biology in general. And I'm talking like basic things that every teenager should probably know, because they're going to go through some major changes as they move into adulthood. And there are a lot of things that, if they understood, I think would help them better prepare for adulthood, beyond the basics of how babies are made. So these videos are put together in an effort to share some of those things. Beyond what I learned in my classes, there's a dimension to learning that only comes through experience, right? It's like riding a bike. Someone can tell you how to do it, but there is something about actually doing it that informs you in a way that someone teaching you can't. And once you've learned and you've gone through the experience, you can look back and you can say, I wish that someone had taught me this or that, or that one thing, yeah, that would have been good to know. And my experience has been rather out of the ordinary with my family, and has definitely taught me some things that I could never have learned just pursuing a degree. And so I hope to share some of those things too. Finally, my college classes taught me a lot about the human body, but one thing that I wasn't explicitly taught was how the human body is made to experience joy. And by that, I don't mean how the human body is able to experience joy, because you get that in class. It's very clinical, and it comes down to areas of the brain and neurotransmitters, the chemicals that help you perceive joy and sorrow and fear and other emotions. But it's actually better than that. Our bodies are actually made to facilitate joy. They're actually made to help us obtain the most joy that we could possibly experience in life. And that's the reason why I chose the title I did, because joy should be a target that we aim for, not just a little bit of joy, but like the maximum amount of joy that we can have in life. And that requires you making certain choices to get that. It doesn't come automatically. You have to find out what you've been given. And in this presentation, we're going to focus on things that are given to you biologically speaking. And you have to make choices that maximize those things that you've been given. And because men and women are different, we're meant to derive joy from different things. You young women out there, if you want to experience joy, you're going to need to know some things about your womanhood, about what it means to be a woman, and then you're going to need to exercise some wisdom. You need to start making choices that leverage aspects of your womanhood that are designed to facilitate more joy. When you understand the biology and you make the decision to work with the biology instead of against it, you realize that there are like little life hacks and decisions that you can make that will significantly increase the amount of joy you experience. And they will also significantly decrease the amount of misery. I said before that I have 7 daughters, and 5 of them are in consecutive order. And they are presently between the ages of 14 and almost 20. So these things are kind of at the forefront of my brain a lot of the time. I watch them having experiences or their friends having experiences that would be so benefited by the information in this presentation. Not only does our society not teach these things that would help our young people experience more joy, but it also currently teaches and promotes and even glamorizes ideas and practices that completely sabotage a young woman's ability to experience the greatest joy in life. And if our bodies are made to facilitate joy, then we should be concerned when we see steady increases in depression, anxiety, suicide, substance abuse, just general negative habitual behavior, right? Or any other condition that would be best described by anyone with any common sense as completely miserable. It's really pretty heartbreaking. And that's why I'm making these videos, because I believe that a woman will experience the greatest amount of joy when she understands her womanhood and when she uses that knowledge to make intentional choices that lead to the best outcomes in her life and in the lives that fall under her influence. So, having made that not-so-short introduction, let me tell you who I hope watches these videos. First of all, I hope this information reaches young women. If you are between the ages of about 12 and 25, you have the most to gain from the information in these videos. There are opportunities in life that only come when you are at a very young age, and you haven't missed them. And that means that you have time to learn about being a woman, and you have time to capitalize on what you learn. And I hope this information helps you do that. The second group of people that I hope this will reach is older women. If you're older than about 25, okay, you're not going to have as many opportunities to capitalize on the information I'm presenting, but I mean, you're not dead. And you still likely have some opportunities depending on what phase of life you're in, and increasing your knowledge about those different phases will enable you to make better informed decisions about the opportunities that are still remaining. Most importantly, there's a great need for older women to teach young people, both from their mistakes and from their successes. Young women today, they need mentors with regard to these things, and those mentors are greatly lacking. The last group of people that I hope watches these videos is men. And that might seem a little weird given the title of this presentation, but the videos are not meant to be exclusive to women, nor is the information in the videos only about women, because you really can't appreciate one without understanding the other. Men and women are meant to be in a synergistic relationship. They're made to complement one another. And understanding women should help you men deal with a woman's complexities better. And it should help you understand the type of man that you were made to be. So now let's talk about content. Part 2 is going to be on the topic of joy. We're going to form a foundation of ideas about what joy is and how to obtain it, as it applies to womanhood specifically, but also just in general. Part 3 is going to be on male and female biology. It's going to be a mildly rated PG discussion about how men and women are made and how they work. And some of the information is probably going to go just a little further in depth than what you may have encountered before, but it's necessary in order to move on to Part 4, which will be on male and female roles and disposition. We're going to talk about how that biology lends itself to successful male and female roles and relationships, how those things should be a natural outgrowth of biology, and we'll probably end up talking about some of the ways that people mess that up. So Part 5 is going to be on dating and marriage. Current dating practices in our society are nothing short of toxic, and they could be very much improved and streamlined for better outcomes in marriages and families with some tweaking. It's like I said, there are little life hacks and strategies that you can employ, and we'll talk about those. Part 6 is going to be on things that matter most. Once we get through all of the biology and relationships and stuff, there are things about you individually that transcend your biology and we'll talk about those things too. So I hope that piques your interest. I hope that you're at least curious, if not excited, to discover some things that might help you obtain as much joy as possible in your life. And I hope you continue on to part 2.